Hello, candle lovers. Thank you for tuning in to me today. My name is Greg, and this is all Aboot candles. Happy Sunday, everyone. Every Sunday, I like to do the weekly wax wrap-up. This is when I go through all of the candles that I finished burning this week, talk a little bit about how they smelled, how they performed, all of that good stuff. Once we get through the candles, I usually dive into some candle company news. We have quite a bit to discuss this week, especially when it comes to Bath & Body Works. There have been Christmas candles getting spotted. We finally got news about the Disney Villains collection. Gonna talk about some of the new Goose Creek releases, some good stuff happening there. Then I might just get a little bit off topic, overshare about my life, and I'm doing my recap of Sex and the City, and just like that, it was the very last episode. It was the very worst episode, so we will be diving into that as well. I know that not everything in this video is going to appeal to everybody, so feel free to use the chapters to navigate around the video to the parts that you find interesting. Let's kick things off with Football Season by Bath & Body Works. Just finished burning this candle when I was in Victoria last week, and I thought that the packaging was okay. Definitely nothing spectacular. I think it looks a little bit kind of childish, to be honest with you. Not really my aesthetic, but I do appreciate when we get a colored lid from Bath & Body Works. The scent notes on Football Season are, it says cozy up on the bleachers with a warm flannel and notes of fresh fallen leaves and autumn air. So it really doesn't give us that much in terms of actual scent notes, but I pick up on a little bit of eucalyptus, something a little bit like leathery, just a touch leathery. I feel like this candle is almost like a mashup of things like flannel, lakeside morning, maybe a little bit of like a frozen lake vibe in there. It's definitely got that like sort of flannel note that flannel candle has, but it's a little bit softer than flannel, and this candle was definitely much weaker than flannel. I actually like the fragrance a little bit. Definitely borders on a little bit of a generic men's cologne fragrance, but I don't mind the actual fragrance. The issue with this candle was absolutely the performance. I mean, it burned really nice and cleanly all the way to the end there. The wax stayed really nice and clean. It never dudded out, never had any sooting issues, nothing like that. But the strength and throw on this was like maybe a 2 or a 3. It was pathetic. In my more open space, it was completely lost. In the bedroom, it was completely lost. In the bathroom, could barely smell it. In the hotel room, could barely smell it. Ultimately, I needed my nose to be about 2 or 3 feet away from this candle when it was burning to be able to smell it. So yeah, a 2 or a 3 for strength and throw. Absolutely not going to be a repurchase for me or a recommendation for you. This was an epic fail. And moving on to another epic fail from Bath & Body Works in that same collection, we got Autumn Evening, another fragrance that I liked, but terrible performance. The same kind of juvenile packaging on this candle. Once again, like it's not terrible, but it's just not really very interesting or appealing to me. Do appreciate the colored lid. The scent notes on Autumn Evening are cool autumn air, fresh eucalyptus, and warm woods. And I would say this is first and foremost a very eucalyptus forward candle more than anything else. It does have a touch of that mentholated eucalyptus vibe, but it's not super minty or mentholy. It's almost more like sort of that leafy, slightly herbaceous eucalyptus note. It's all right. I feel like there's some bergamot in this candle as well. I feel like this is a candle that, you know, we've smelled before. It's not that different from Football Season. Football Season has a little bit more of like a flannelly note in it, whereas this is really more like an outdoorsy, airy eucalyptus vibe. And I don't mind the fragrance. I like eucalyptus, but this candle just performed terribly. Once again, it was a really nice clean burn all the way down to the bottom there. I mean, I burned this candle until 2 of the wicks like extinguished themselves and one of them just kept going. It never really dudded out or gave me any problems in that regard, but this was even weaker than Football Season. This was like a 2. Couldn't smell it in in any space that I put it in, unless I was like hovering above the candle, like about this far. Like my nose had to be about 2 feet from the candle to be able to smell it. Just pathetic. Really bad. Not a great start to the season, Bath and Body Works, but I am burning some of the newer fall candles now that are doing much better and do have some strength and throw. So this first wave wasn't a total wash. I'm actually burning Book Loft right now from this collection, and it's doing pretty well, although I would say that I think that it's weaker than a Book Loft that I had burned previously. And somebody in my comment section recently has actually said that the new Book Loft is a little weaker than the older versions of it were, so that's just not great. I don't want to go off into a big tangent here, but I do think that Bath and Body Works has been tinkering with their wax formula a little bit, maybe adding a little bit more soy into their candles, because they've been burning a little bit more like soy candles in the sense that they burn really quickly, they have no strength and throw, and they're nice clean burns all the way down to the bottom. We shall see. Like I said, I'm burning a lot of other fall Bath and Body Works stuff right now that's doing quite well, and I'm actually still burning a lot of summer. I'm just kind of mixing in a fall candle here and there right now. I usually burn summer pretty late into the season. Summer is my favorite fragrance season, and here in Calgary lately, we've been having really long summers. Like, it's like 22 degrees Celsius out right now, and it's looking like it's gonna stay that way for a while. So there's gonna be quite a bit of summer candles still happening in my weekly wax wrap-ups for a few more weeks. I also finished burning this Turquoise Waters. I think that this was one of the most beautiful Turquoise Waters candles that Bath and Body Works has put out. This is from a little while ago. We had a kind of fun sort of wavy metal lid on this one, and this candle was poured in 2023. Okay, so it's not quite as old as I thought it was. The scent notes on Turquoise Waters are coastal waves, sparkling bergamot, and sun-drenched musk. I love this fragrance. I really, really love like oceanic, aquatic fragrances. If you've been watching my channel for any period of time, you know how much I love like briny ocean waves fragrances. I just love stuff like this, and I think Turquoise Waters is an excellent one. I do always wish it was a little bit stronger though. There's a hefty amount of bergamot in here. It's very breezy, very airy, a little bit of a saltiness for sure. Like that sort of airy, salty, beachy vibe that you get sometimes when you're by the ocean. I don't really pick up on a ton of musk in this. It says sun-drenched musk. To me, this is really like a briny, bergamot, salty sort of situation. Maybe a little bit of like just a touch of woodsiness in there, but it just smells so fresh, so clean, so aquatic. I really like this candle. It performed all right. It was a really, really nice clean burn all the way down to the bottom. Look, there's like no sooting, no discoloration in the wax there, nothing. Really beautiful burn, and this candle just looked gorgeous when it was burning as well. It looked really, really great when it was burning. I'd say that the strength and throw on this in my more open area was about a 6, which is acceptable for me, especially for a candle like this in my more open space. Would I like for it to have been stronger? Yeah, of course. But a 6 in my more open area is pretty good. Oh, I love this one. I'm wondering if I might not just put this little bit of wax into the candle crock later tonight. I did put it in the bedroom for a while, and it was stronger in there. Like, it was probably getting to about a 6.5 or so. This is not a candle that I think is even really meant to be much of a powerhouse. You know, it does a good job though of sort of giving you that authentic kind of salty, like beachy air, you know? Yeah, I really like Turquoise Waters. That would be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you. Just don't expect it to blow the roof off your house. I was really sad that we didn't get that back this summer. There were so many summer Bath and Body Works candles that we didn't get this year, especially not in a 3-wick format. No berry waffle cone, no summer boardwalk, fresh bamboo, rainforest gardenia, bronze sunset, Palo Santo vanilla, turquoise waters. I could go on and on and on. This summer was so disappointing for me at Bath and Body Works, but I do feel like they're doing a bit of a course correction right now because it has been fall and Halloween and lots of new releases coming up. So things are finally starting to get a little bit more interesting in that store. I also finished up a Soothing Coconut, and this is a candle from Goose Creek. And I have to say, I think that Goose Creek killed summer this year. If it hadn't been for Goose Creek, I'm wondering if I would have just been sitting around like wondering what to burn. Goose Creek kept things really interesting, consistently putting out new collections that were cohesive and well done and nicely designed, and the candles had good strength and throw. For me, I really feel like Goose Creek saved this summer. Anyways, Soothing Coconut had an absolutely beautiful wraparound label, and it looked wonderful when it was burning as well. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if this candle came with a white lid or if I just put this on there myself. It might have just come with their standard, like, generic metallic lid. Anyways, the scent notes on Soothing Coconut are milky coconut, creamy vanilla, sweet orange, and island rain. And I really, really, really liked this one. It's not like, I don't know, it almost doesn't give off like that sort of full-blown like tropical vibe, because there's actually a little bit of like a darkness, like a bit of a depth to this fragrance. It actually sits kind of in like a middle to a lower range, and it is like a fruity coconut. Like, you definitely pick up on that orange, but there's also a really sort of aquatic vibe to it and a lot of like creamy vanilla coconut. It's really nice. It's a really rich, deep fragrance. I'd say there's a little bit of like an orange, like the top note is kind of like an aquatic sort of orange vibe. And then in the middle of it, it's a very like rich and deep coconut note. And then in the base of it, a really smooth and creamy vanilla. I really, really enjoyed this one. I burned it down quite far here. You know, I'm actually thinking maybe I jumped the gun a little bit. I've got about an inch left of wax here. I think I might have one more burn left in this candle. But it was a really nice clean burn, just a little bit of discoloration at the very end there, but no sooting, no like dark marks around the jar or anything like that. Truthfully, it's usually the very last burn on a Goose Creek candle once the entire thing has like liquefied, and I tend to let it go for a little bit longer than I should. It's usually that very last burn where things get kind of dirty and it might start sooting a little bit. But no, this was a really fabulous, nice, clean burn, and good strength and throw too. I'd say in my more open space, this was like a 6.5. Definitely had like a nice, noticeable presence to it. Nice, rich, deep sort of coconut creamy vibe. Very noticeable. 6.5 even in my more open space with the ceilings. Then when it was in the bedroom, it easily got up to like a 7.5. Like, it was very, very room filling in the bedroom, so I was really happy with that. This will definitely be a repurchase for me next year and a recommendation for you. I also finished up another Goose Creek candle. This one was Summer Veranda. And I actually really liked this packaging when I first got these candles. But then, I don't know, after burning them and living with them for a while, the packaging really lost its appeal a little bit to me. But it's not bad. Something about, I think these are supposed to be like mussels or oysters or clams or something. Not actually really super appealing. And something about these two like unaligned text boxes, just not my favorite design from Goose Creek, but it was a reasonably good candle. The scent notes on Summer Veranda are summer blooms, fresh ocean air, and dune grass. And this is a very like fruity floral. There's no fruit listed in here, but I really think that there's a little bit of like a melon or like a stone fruit sort of component to this. And yeah, a fair bit of a floral. I'd say that it's maybe like a soft white floral, perhaps a bit of jasmine. And there's also sort of a grassy, leafy, green vibe to it as well. I'd say that the top note is kind of that unlisted sort of watery, fruity note. And then the middle of the fragrance, the main component of this is sort of a soft floral. And then in the base of it, there's like a lush, nice like green note. I really liked Summer Veranda. I did have some issues with this candle though. As you can see, it got quite dirty and I had to stop burning it at this point because it wasn't like fully like sooting. Like I didn't see the soot coming off of it. But the wax was getting quite discolored and you can see it left some black markings around the side of the jar there. So I just called it a day before things started to get too icky. However, like the first, this bit of the candle, I stopped burning it right when it did start to get icky. So the first 2/3 of the candle were really nice, good, clean burn, but I can't fully recommend this candle. I don't like recommending a candle if it starts to get this dirty already at this point here. But the strength and throw on this was pretty good. I'd say it was like a 6 in my more open space and like a 7 in the bedroom. Those are the only 2 spaces that I burned it in. And it was adequate, I'd say, in like both of those spaces. Not a powerhouse for sure, but it was nice. It was sort of like breezy and beachy and pretty lovely. I also finished burning this Coconut Beach from Yankee candle. Ugh, this is not gonna be a very happy story, you guys. This is what Sarita from Coffee and Candles sort of affectionately refers to this format as the trash can clip art format. And this is one of the worst clip art jobs that they've done on this format of candles. They've changed it up now. They've got brand new labels on their new candles, which I think are a little bit better. Let me just quickly look the scent notes up here off the website. All right, folks, we have got a full-blown scent story for Coconut Beach here on the Yankee Candle website. It says, "This is a fruity fragrance, a refreshing tropical experience. This coconut-forward fragrance will have you dreaming of ice-cold drinks on a warm, sunny beach. Complete the picturesque getaway with notes of pineapple, Tahitian vanilla, and lei blossom." They give us not a ton of scent notes, but a few more scent notes than I pick up on. The top notes are salty air and pineapple. The middle notes are fresh coconut and lei blossom. And the base notes are airy musk and Tahitian vanilla. And they always give us a little like summary of how top, middle, and base notes work on the Yankee Candle website, which I find helpful. It says the top note is the initial impression of the fragrance. The middle note is the main body of the scent, and the base is its final impression. Now, there are some fragrance notes in there that I really don't pick up on. To me, this is really just pineapple, coconut, and vanilla. I don't really pick up on any floral in this, and I don't pick up on the salty air either, like an oceanic, briny, like aquatic note or anything. I don't get that. I really just get pineapple and coconut, and to be honest, the Tahitian vanilla, there is a vanilla component to that, but I can't really even tell if there's actually vanilla in there or if it's just like that creamy coconut note, I mean, it's pineapple on top and then just a ton of coconut in the middle, maybe a little bit of a vanilla in the base of it, but it's a pretty medium to high ranging fragrance. Reminds me a little bit of coconut pina colada that Bath & Body Works put out this year. Predominantly, this is just pineapple and coconut. coconut, which wouldn't be terrible except for the fact that the coconut note in here I just find a little bit flat. It's a bit of an unremarkable coconut note. Like, it's not really deep and creamy and rich, but it's also not sort of like a light and airy and smooth coconut note either. It's kind of just a really, really straightforward coconut pineapple fragrance. I feel like it's balanced all right, but it definitely lacks nuance. It's definitely not super interesting, and I'm probably a little bit biased here. I really like coconut fragrance, and I've been burning a lot of excellent coconut candles this summer, such as this one, Soothing Coconut from Goose Creek, because Soothing Coconut has a personality. It's really rich and deep and creamy and lovely, whereas this is just, yeah, I smell some coconut and I smell some pineapple, but the real sin of this candle was the strength and throw. I mean, it was pretty much unscented. It burned really nicely. Like, I could burn through this whole candle, and one of the things I appreciate about this format of candles from Yankee is that they burn for a long time, and you can let them burn for quite a while without getting into any troubles with like sooting or discoloration or anything. I would probably let this burn sometimes for like 4 or 5 hours, and it would be just fine. I did burn it all the way down until the entire candle had liquefied, and so at that point we did start to see just a little bit of discoloration like right at the bottom there, but the strength and throw on this was not good. Really, really not good. Probably a 3. In my more open space, it was like a 2 or a 3, maybe. Like, I never even really bothered putting it into smaller spaces to see if it would do any better. Once I realized I wasn't going to be getting much out of this, I kind of just used it as a blender candle when I was burning other coconut fragrances. I mean, when I was burning this by itself, yeah, I probably had to be about 3 feet away from the candle to be able to smell it, which is really not good, especially considering I paid like $29 for this candle at Walmart. Wah, wah. I mean, I don't totally regret it, but it's not going to be a repurchase for me or a recommendation for you. And for the most part, I'd be burning this in my more open space when I was burning other coconut candles or other tropical candles, just other candles that would lend themselves well to having a little bit of extra like coconut and pineapple in there. Yeah, this wasn't a candle that you could just burn on its own and really get much fragrance out of. Very disappointing. Yankee Candle is still really hit or miss, you know? I don't think that, I'm not on the side of things where it's like, all of Yankee candles are completely unscented and not worth your money and really, really terrible. I'm not in that place yet. I'd say that about half of the Yankee candles that I burn, and I really only buy this format. This format for me is the format that I enjoy purchasing the most. You know, I'd say that about half of them have an adequate or acceptable level of strength and throw. You know, depending on the space that you put them in, they usually do pretty well in like smaller spaces, bedrooms or bathrooms. I'd say that about half of them I'm okay with the strength and throw, but then yeah, about half of them it's just like, this is basically unscented, so this is either gonna be a blender candle or a candle that I'm like burning outside, like just for the ambience of it, you know what I mean? Anyways, that is all I've got for us this week in terms of candles that I finished burning. Easing myself into fall a little bit, had a couple of fall candles that I took on the road with me when I was in Victoria, but I'm still deep into summer. You know, I've still got probably about a dozen summer candles in my candle closet that I'm burning through before I'm gonna be like completely switching to fall here. Let's get into a little bit of Bath and Body Works candle news. We were all waiting for this Disney Villains announcement, and it finally happened. It's actually happening. There was a lot of back and forth forth on this, because does anyone else remember there was like a leaked call from like head office or something, like a whole bunch of information leaked a really long time ago, and among that information it was said that this was absolutely the last that you're gonna see of these Disney collaborations from Bath and Body Works. It's over, it's done. But there was a lot of speculation that we were going to be getting Disney villains kind of as part of a Halloween situation. And so I'm happy about it. I'm interested in these candles. We're going to be getting the Evil Queen, which is from Snow White. And the scent notes are dark red apple, wicked pear, and vanilla suede. That might be interesting, but I'm much more interested in the Maleficent candle, which is sinister plum, midnight berries, and mystical woods. Ooh, if that ends up being a really nice, like dark, jammy, like woodsy plum fragrance, I might get really, really into that. I'm not too sure about the Evil Queen, but Maleficent definitely sounds like something that could be right up my alley. The candles look fantastic too. They've got pretty cool lids on them with little holographic pictures. They're gonna change, depending on how you're looking at it. So the candles look like they're gonna be cool. The candle pedestals look like they're gonna be really cool. A lot of people are interested in these candle pedestals. One of them is like Maleficent's castle, and it looks massive, just like a massive dark castle with the dragon coming around the side of it. And then the other one is the Evil Queen pedestal, which is like that dagger through a heart. You know how the Evil Queen sent out her huntsman to cut out Snow White's heart and bring it back to her? Bit of an overreaction, to be honest with you. I think what's disappointing about this is just that those seem to be the only two Disney villains that we're getting. I would have loved to have seen Ursula. Ursula's probably my favorite Disney villain for sure. There was a lot of talk that maybe there'd be Jafar, like there are Cruella de Vil. There are so many like interesting Disney villains that they could have done. But, here we are with the two Disney villains that are skinny, attractive, young, beautiful white women, like that's not lost on me by any means. I think it would have been fun if they had really leaned into the theme and given us some super interesting Disney villains with some super interesting scents, but that's just not happening, folks. So I'm a little bit disappointed, that at this point at least, there could always be more news, but I'm a little disappointed at this point that, it's just going to be these two queens, but whatever. We've got those ceramic jars from Bath and Body Works. If you want, I showed a lot of the ceramic candles in the Bath and Body Works store walkthrough that I posted on Friday. So if you want to get an up-close peek at those, you can go check out that video. Really not interested just because they didn't put any new fragrances in these ceramic jars. You know what I mean? And they also don't have lids. And they also have colored wax and thick ropey wicks on them. So I'm predicting that there's going to be some performance issues. Usually with Bath and Body Works candles, like a vessel that's not made out of glass or glass with a wraparound, thick ropey wicks, and colored wax, that's usually a recipe for disaster when it comes to performance. That usually means that these candles are gonna be dudding out, itty bitty wicks, teeny tiny flames, and a very uninteresting selection of fragrances. We have vanilla bean, mahogany teakwood high intensity, fresh balsam, frosted cranberry, high price points, no lids, just a dust cover. And then in the single wicks, they have those same fragrances, but I think they also have pink lavender and espresso. And actually, when I was in the store, it was the single wick pink lavender and espresso candle that I was tempted to pick up. I mean, I'm still not paying $22 for that. It just seems ridiculous, like that you're gonna pay $22 for a single wick candle when all of the 3 wicks are on sale right now for $12. Like I'm just not seeing the value in those candles, to be honest with you. Though I might do do the pink lavender and espresso if they ever get included into some sort of sale. The price points here in Canada were $34, and someone told me that the price points in the States are $39, which is ridiculous. You guys are getting ripped off because $40 American would be like $53 Canadian. So I don't know. I guess they just knew that that price point wasn't gonna fly up here in Canada. Like, they're $34, which I still think is pretty ridiculous. The actual ceramic jar itself is nice, but everything else about those candles really just doesn't appeal to me. We had a member exclusive candle drop of 2 candles that I'm completely not interested in. I'm sure that people are going to be interested in checking them out, and some people are going to love them. One of them is like a glazed chestnut croissant or something like that. I'll have a picture up of it. And then the other one is a pumpkin spice cold foam. Early reports, some people in my comment section, people I follow on Instagram, are saying that the pumpkin cold foam candle is basically unscented when it's burning. And I'm not hearing that people think that this chestnut glazed one, I'm not hearing that people are thinking it smells delicious, but my guess is that that candle would probably perform a little bit better. Either way, it's going to be a hard pass for me. On top of all of this, at Bath & Body Works, we do have the new Christmas candles getting spotted. And where I found all of this information is an Instagram account called Big Wick Energy. And if you want to check him out on Instagram, the handle is big_wick_energy. And his name's Josh, and he's just fantastic. This is where I go to on Instagram for all of the Bath & Body Works news. He must be really close to a store where it's like a test store and they get everything right away. Go to his Instagram account if you want to see pictures of these candles. I do sometimes show his pictures on my channel, but I always ask him for permission first, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But I'll share some of the information with you. So far, it looks like we're getting 6 brand new fragrances for Christmas, and they are there's one called Let It Snow, which is probably going to be an airy, sort of wintry pine and eucalyptus candle, I'm guessing. One of them is called Santa's Milk and Cookies. I'm thinking that that might be a repackage of a candle that came out a while ago called Hometown Sugar Cookies, because that Hometown Sugar Cookies candle had a very like milky, like latonic vibe to it. Cranberry and eucalyptus, that might be interesting. I'd be interested to smell it. Cranberry and eucalyptus, that sounds to me like it could go one of 2 ways. Either it'll be amazing and interesting, or it'll be like a big like PU. There's one called Cozy Winter Cabin, one called Sugared Pine Needles, which I'll be at least interested in smelling. Usually I like my pine candles to be more like earthy and like dark than like sugary and sweet, but I'll be interested to smell that one. And then one called Mrs. Claus's Cocktail, which I'm sure is going to be just like a champagne toast or a bubbly rosé type of situation. And then some returning favorites that we're getting for Christmas this year: Snowflakes and Cashmere, 'Tis the Season, Crushed Candy Cane, The Perfect Christmas, Bright Christmas Morning, Merry Cookie, Spiced Gingerbread, Fresh Balsam, Sweater Weather, Tree Farm, Eucalyptus Snowfall, and Spiced Apple Toddy, as well as the collection with Mrs. Claus's Cocktail, Cookie Butter Truffle, Cinnamon Sugared Pecans. Oh, that one is not good. The Perfect Christmas, I always like that. Flannels, coming back for the 3rd time already this year. 'Tis the Season, Fresh Balsam. So we're already seeing a lot of repetition in these candles, which is always a little bit disappointing. I don't know how many versions of flannel we really need on the floor at one time, you know? There's another collection that will have that Sugared Pine Needles in it, Snowflakes and Cashmere, and Snowy Peachberry. Cozy Winter Cottage, Lavender and Pine, which came out for the first time last year, and I think most of us were pretty disappointed that it didn't have that much lavender in it. Either it didn't have a lot of lavender in it, or it didn't have a lot of pine in it. I can't remember, even though I'm pretty sure I like reviewed it and I have a review out there for it. I remember we were all disappointed that it was called lavender and pine, but it only really had one of those components to it. Strawberry snowflakes, of course. Falling flurries, which I really like. I'm glad to see Falling Flurries is coming back, but that's not even really that much of a Christmas or winter candle. That's like a pear, like stone fruit fragrance. Winter, which I really like. Fresh balsam again. Frosted cranberry again. What else? Cranberries and eucalyptus. Christmas cabin, marshmallow fireside again, fresh cinnamon rolls, sugared snickerdoodle, of course, under the Christmas tree. I really like that one. Holiday is always a little bit too cinnamon for me, but I know a lot of people like that. And then there's the collection that has Let It Snow, Santa's Milk and Cookies, Crushed Candy Cane, and Tree Farm. Vanilla Bean Noel, of course, Winter Candy Apple, Twisted Peppermint, Bright Christmas Morning, all the usual suspects in there. So yeah, nothing, at least for me personally, nothing super exciting that I'm like losing my mind over already, but it sounds like a pretty solid Christmas lineup, you know, something for everybody. I always like a Falling Flurries, you know, there are a lot of fragrances in there that I like every year and I enjoy getting. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for Bath and Body Works news. Once again, I got all of that information from Josh's Instagram account, which is big_wick_energy. I really suggest you guys checking him out and giving him a follow if you want to get a glimpse of all of these new Christmas candles that we can be expecting. Probably like any minute now, it's going to be Christmas time at Bath and Body Works. Goose Creek has a lot of new stuff on the website this week. They did put out another new fall collection. Nothing that is super exciting to me. You guys know fall really just isn't my favorite fragrance season, and I've gone pretty ham at Bath and Body Works already. I've purchased 4 fall candles from Goose Creek, and I actually think that I might be good. I'm not super interested in their Scooby-Doo Halloween collection, and this new fall collection, like, there's some stuff in there that sounds all right, but honestly, I think I'm good. Ever since the tariffs and the price increases and the new duty fees that I have to pay, I'm really only placing orders when there's stuff that I really want. You know, we've got some of the new candles from the new collection. I'll show you them here. Nice designs, nothing incredible, but they all look nice. Spiced Fallen Leaves, Bonfire Leaves, Farmhouse Pumpkin, Cool Harvest Morning, Blessed Day, First Autumn Frost, Spiced Apple Harvest, Everything Fall, Harvest Hayride, and then we've got a whole bunch of stuff that's been out for a while now. I actually think Farmhouse Lavender might be nice. You know, you never know. Maybe when they have a really good candle sale coming up, I'll do a little bit more fall from Goose Creek. But at this point, I think I'm good. When it comes to Yankee Candle, they do have some Halloween candles coming out. I'm not paying that much attention to it. Not super interested in Yankee Halloween candles. I don't think they've ever been particularly fabulous at Halloween. But if you do want some info on what Yankee's doing for Halloween, I really recommend checking out Philly Candleman right here on YouTube. He covered a lot of the new Yankee Halloween stuff. And also there's been a lot of talk lately about Yankee Candle doing the reformulation of their wax, adding more fragrance oil. What's true, what's not true. Sarita from Coffee and Candles put out a really great video where she is just breaking down which candles have a new formula, which candles don't have a new formula, why she thinks that they've done what they've done. It's actually not all newly reformulated stuff. Like, long story short, it sounds like the only candles that got reformulated were the big single wick apothecary candles. Anyways, I always recommend checking out Sarita from Coffee and Candles. And if you're interested in the whole new Yankee packaging formula, stuff like that, she has a great video out for it. I will link to it below. Anyways, yeah, how is everybody's Sunday going? What are your plans like for today? I am just gonna be spending the rest of the day chilling out, relaxing, and spending some time with the boyfriend. I'm leaving again tomorrow. I'm going back to the West Coast for some meetings in Vancouver. I just got back from Victoria on Thursday night. It was a really, really good work trip. I was in Victoria for a conference all about police governance in Canada, and the keynote speaker there was this country musician. His name's Paul Brandt. If you're in the States, you've probably never heard of him before, but he is a really big deal up here in Canada. And yeah, he gave the keynote speech at this thing, and it was really interesting. He does a lot of really, really good work in the nonprofit sphere and gave a really great keynote presentation and even sang for us, just like solo on his acoustic guitar. And then I got a chance to meet him and talk to him, and he gave me some really good advice and some words of encouragement about the work that I'm doing in the justice sector, you know, sort of involving anti-human trafficking initiatives. So it was a really good trip. My boss took us all on a boat the last day that we were there, which was really, really fun. It wasn't like a small little sailing boat, but it wasn't like a giant yacht either, but it was one of those boats that has lots of good nibbles and pass arounds, and they had a bar set up and you could get white wine and beer and stuff like that. I ended up getting a little bit tipsy on this little boat trip. We were out on the ocean for like 3 hours. We saw so many whales like diving, like it's mostly like a whale watching sort of boat trip that we were on, and we saw a lot of stuff. The guy that was sort of our tour guide was saying that that was the most whales that he had ever seen on a single boat tour before. Although he probably says that to every group that he takes out. But I ended up going live on YouTube when I was on this boat, and a lot of you guys came in and out of the live that I was doing. About 40 of you tuned in at the end of the day, and it was really, really fun. A lot of you guys actually showed up, and you know, I had a couple glasses of wine, and also in that video, you know, the bartender was on there, and my friend and my boss and a bunch of other people. And so I ended up like taking the video down and not posting it like I do when I go live most of the time. But if you guys don't want to miss out, because I do go live once in a while, and only the people that see it. I usually take it down afterwards. Like I went live during the rodeo at the Stampede. I was live for like 20 minutes on this boat cruise. If you don't want to miss me the next time that I go live at some sort of an interesting event, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the little like notification bell, and you can set it so that you'll get a notification when I go live, and then you won't be missing out on all these fun things. I mean, Victoria is just such a cool place. They're very like environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious there, and there's a really like solid relationship between like people that live there and nature. And it's one of those places, you know, we were in the middle of downtown Victoria and we saw a deer. I did take a video of it. I'll put a little video up. We're just in the middle of downtown Victoria walking down the sidewalk, and there's like this big building with a whole bunch of bushes and whatnot by it, and out comes this deer just looking at us, just saying hello. Full-blown deer in the middle of downtown Victoria. And the hotel that I was staying at had a cat that lived there, and I guess this cat just has free range of the hotel. You'd see it getting on the elevator, you'd see it in the hallways, you'd see it sitting on the staircase in the lobby. It was really fun. The cat's name was Samuel. He was an absolute delight. Very, very friendly cat. Anyways, made it back from Victoria, did the store walkthrough, posted that on Saturday. I've got a big fall Bath & Body Works candle haul out that I just posted yesterday. And here we are with the weekly wax wrap up. I'm off to Vancouver tomorrow. I am going to be taking a couple almost finished candles with me, so I'll probably do a couple reviews from the road. And now, you know, we're going to have to get into Sex in the City. It was the last episode, my friends, and I'm relieved that it was the last episode. At this point, I've had enough of that show. I mean, every single season that came was worse than the previous season. I mean, this show, it just got worse and worse and worse in every possible way, and I'm actually going to say that this last episode was the very worst episode of the entire series. series. Not just because it was the last episode, but it was the worst episode. I mean, it was really terrible, and quite frankly, it was disgusting. It wasn't funny. It was just disgusting. We have Carrie, who's like finishing her book, whatever. I mean, who cares? This did not feel like a series finale whatsoever. And so I absolutely know now that they didn't anticipate this being the last season of the show. They must have thought that this was going to come back for another season, because I don't know why they would have left it in such a weird way like that. I think that maybe what happened is somebody must have pulled out. Like maybe Sarah Jessica Parker was just like, you know what? I can't handle what people are saying about this show anymore. Like I figure some of the actors and actresses must have just been like, after seeing the audience reception to this show, I figure that a whole bunch of people must have just not wanted to like come back and renew their contracts. That's the only guess I can hazard, because this did not feel like it was meant to be the series finale. And I don't think that HBO wanted to cancel it either, because even though it's like the worst show in the world, it's been very popular. Like it's actually a hit for them. And it's a hit because people like me are watching it just to like make fun of it and stay in the loop and like cringe over it. Like it hasn't been popular for the right reasons. And I don't think HBO wanted it to go away. I don't think that the creator, Darren Star, wanted it to go away, or else he would have wrapped up the finale a little bit better. I think that one of the main actresses must have just been like, no, I'm not doing this for another year, and just pulled out of it. The actress that plays Samantha in the original series, her name is Kim Cattrall, and when news broke that the series was canceled, she posted on Instagram like this picture of a beautiful sunset, and the caption just read something like, "So nice to be relaxing after a long, hard week," or something. I definitely think there was a little bit of shade happening there, you guys. Anyways, so I mean, just really briefly, there's really not even that much to recap, you guys. Nothing happened. Really nothing happened this season. We kick things off with Carrie going into this restaurant that she's never been to before, that's like run by robots. And so she's like walking to her table and like walks by a robot and is like, oh, hello, and then sits down and doesn't know how to use the iPad. And the server or whatever brings this doll and puts this doll to sit in the booth directly across from her, and looks at Carrie and is like, now you don't have to eat alone. I mean, just really driving home the fact that Carrie is single. You know, she's ending this series as a single person, and she's okay with that. We've hit this character beat multiple times before throughout this franchise. So they're just wrapping things up with Carrie being single. And she changed the last line of her book now to say something to the effect of, the woman was alone, but not lonely, or something stupid like that. I mean, so Carrie doesn't end up with Duncan, doesn't end up with the grumpy, like, British neighbor. Apparently he just decided he's moving back to England and never coming back. Things didn't work out with Aiden, so we end with Carrie just being, you know, she's lonely, but not alone. And then, I mean, they kind of gave everybody a little bit of closure, I guess. We saw LGBT and her husband. You know, LGBT has been wanting to, like, cheat on her husband with this really hot guy that she works with named Marion. But, you know, she showed enough self-restraint to not want to go out for dinner with him, and went home to her husband instead. And then, like, started, like, reciting their marriage vows to him. Oh, God, like, whatever, who cares? I never liked this character. I never cared about her whatsoever. We've got Charlotte and Harry, and Harry has been going through, like, either testicular cancer or prostate cancer, and we've had to hear all about his swollen balls and everything throughout the season, and how he can't get it up. But at the end of this, oh, look at that, he can get it up. Oh, I've got it up, honey, let's go, let's run into the bedroom. We're back in business now. Woohoo. I bet Charlotte's just thrilled about that. I mean, we've got Carrie delivering all of her pies for Thanksgiving dinner, because Miranda is having a Thanksgiving dinner, which is just like, the guest list is awful. Like, Brady's girlfriend who's pregnant shows up and can only eat seaweed, and then this other guy shows up, and honestly, I kind of zoned out. I was just like, this is so weird and awkward, and I don't understand what's happening. But the big Thanksgiving scene ends with the toilet getting clogged, and Veranda has to go in there and clean it up, and it's just supposed to be hilarious. Like, ha 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 ha, oh no, the toilet's overflowing because someone took a ginormous in it. And so we actually see the character flushing the toilet and everything coming up. We have to actually look at the coming up through the toilet. Like, they show it to us. I'm sitting there watching this and I'm just like, it was disgusting. There were so many weird, disgusting, gross body function storylines in this season of the show. I don't understand it. I don't know who thought that this was a good idea. I really don't know what these writers are thinking. The writers that work on this show all have a podcast where they talk about every episode and what great character development. Oh, that's an amazing scene. You did such a good job with that scene. All of the jokes this season have not been funny. They've just been disgusting. And they've all been about body functions, body odor, peeing your pants, toilets overflowing, getting stinky. Like, it's just been so gross. Like, I don't understand. Like, it wasn't funny. It hasn't been funny. It's just been disgusting. And I'm so glad that it's over. I really am. I actually don't think that I could have sat through a whole other season of this. Like, at the beginning of the episode, there's this beautiful scene. These four girls, at the beginning of the episode, they're all still pretty jilted. You know, this is before Harry and Charlotte hook up and before LGBT recites her vows back to her husband. They're all on their way to this wedding show, this wedding fashion show, because nothing makes four women who are having relationship problems feel better than going to like a bridal fashion show. Just so stupid. I zoned out. I don't even remember what they were talking about at this stupid fashion show, but you know, it eventually gets wrapped up. Carrie's gonna be alone. Charlotte and Harry have sex. Veranda is kind of worried that things are on the rocks with her lesbian lover from England, but by the end of the episode, they get together. Miranda's cleaning out the toilet that just overflowed, and the British lady she's dating comes in and is just like, I love you no matter what, and Miranda's like, oh, and gives her a big hug in the disgusting toilet water with her cleaning gloves still on. I'm just like, what is this? And then Seema and the gardener. So Seema's all upset now because this gardener doesn't believe in marriage. And it's like, what? Seema, you guys thought that you were gonna get married? Seema's like 56 years old. This gardener, Adam, is 34. They have absolutely nothing in common at all. They can't even agree on what kind of deodorant to wear. I mean, it's just so stupid. So Seema's upset he doesn't believe in marriage, but then I think by the end of the episode, they managed to work it out. Honestly, guys, that's all I have in terms of the recap. I really wasn't paying that close of attention because I just couldn't. This was so hard to watch, and I really think that this last episode was actually the worst episode of the entire series by far. Like, I could barely bring myself to look at the screen. It didn't make me chuckle once. I'm so upset with the way that they've left these characters after the brilliance of the original series, you know, to then have to sit through the first movie, which was okay, the second movie, which was terrible, and then this whole season, which has just been train wreck territory, like, so bad, like, oh. And, you know, I think that ultimately and just like that, I think ultimately it was doomed to fail because they couldn't get Kim Cattrall. And Kim Cattrall is a classy lady and a serious actress, and I do not hold it against her at all for not wanting to be a part of these shenanigans. Do I think the show would have been better with her in it? Absolutely. Do I understand why she wanted to have absolutely nothing to do with this BS? Yes, Absolutely. Kim Cattrall, you did the right thing, and I appreciated your shady Instagram post as well. So I just don't think that this should have ever existed in the first place. And I hated the way that this show was trying to push all of this sort of diversity into our faces. And I actually think that in this show's attempt to be overly accepting, it almost became kind of homophobic and racist and weird. You know, like the characters that were people of color weren't just characters who happened to be people of color. They were people of color. And all of the characters in the show that were sort of gender diverse or gay or whatever, they weren't just characters that happened to be gay. They were gay characters with no other character traits. They were non-binary people with no other character traits other than the fact that they were non-binary. It was just a disaster. And honestly, looking back on it, I do think it was almost a little bit offensive the way that they were trying to just be so weirdly inclusive and push this agenda. It was very, very strange. And I was thinking about it actually when I was driving home last night, and I have come up with a way that I think that this could have been a decent series, even without Kim Cattrall. You know, there were way too many new characters that we did not care about. They should have done away with all of those characters. Because the original show, it was really just about these 4 girls and the people that were in their lives, And every episode of the original series was very focused. There were overarching storylines, but every episode of the original series was very focused on that particular sort of topic of the week and how each character kind of had a struggle with it. They needed to go back to that format. Now, Kim Cattrall is not going to be coming back. Good for her. You know who I think they should have had? They should have just introduced one new character. Just one brand new character. I don't care what her name is, but that character should have been played by Laverne Cox. Yes, Laverne Cox should have replaced Samantha. And I don't mean just pretend she is Samantha. They should have said, yeah, Samantha moved away to England, whatever. But now the new character, the new friend that they've let into their friend group is Laverne Cox, because she's a woman of color, she's smart, she's beautiful, she's funny, she's sexy, she's a good actress, she's transgendered. She kind of rose to fame when Orange is the New Black got really popular. They should have just introduced one new character, made it Laverne Cox, and actually have given her a really interesting backstory and some good character beats, and maybe do some really interesting writing about what it is like for a person of color who's transgendered, who's her age, to be dating in New York City, and sort of explaining that process to the other girls, and also being funny and being dramatic and all that good stuff. I think that if they had just kept it to 4 girls, had Laverne Cox be the new character, and just stuck more closely to what the original show was about, I think that this could have been really, really good. But it wasn't. They did the complete opposite of that, introduced 100 characters that absolutely nobody cared about at all, and just pushed all of this weird, times are a-changing agenda on us that was just so weird, and honestly actually ended up coming off as a little bit offensive. I'll never understand what was going through Michael Patrick King's head when he was writing the show and then approving of all the final cuts of it or whatever. It could have been so good. It could have been so good. But that's just not what we got. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that, which is actually, unfortunately, quite a lot. I do apologize, you guys. I know a lot of you have been enjoying these Sex and the City recaps, even people who haven't been watching the show. I've loved talking to you about it in the comment section. I've really loved emailing back and forth with a handful of you about this show. I'm just reminiscing on our experiences of how much we loved the original. I'm getting asked by a lot of people if I'm gonna cover another show next, and I don't really think I am. This actually ended up turning into a really big commitment, but I think that I might once in a while do a recap of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. If you have never watched The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and you're a fan of the Housewives franchises, I suggest that you get caught up on the first seasons of Salt Lake City because the new season is starting pretty soon. Now, there's no way I'm going to be doing a week-to-week Salt Lake City recap, but I do think that maybe once or twice a month, we're going to have to talk about The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City because this is just the strangest group of women that Bravo has ever assembled in one of their Real Housewives franchises. These women are nuts. I mean, one of them's in jail right now. One of them married her step-grandfather. I mean, these women are truly, truly crazy, and I'm really looking forward to the new season of that. So I'm going to just go back to doing some general chit-chat at the end of my weekly Wax wrap-ups, but I do think that once Salt Lake City starts, we might have to dive into that one a little because truly there is no show that's going to replace this whole Sex in the City. I mean, this was just the epitome of a hate watch, but it was also a hate watch of a show that myself and I think a lot of my subscribers were into back in its heyday. You know, this show was really kind of like big, crappy, stinky lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways, and I don't think it's ever going to happen again. But maybe some Salt Lake City is on the horizon for a little Not Aboot candles at the end of the weekly Wax wrap-ups. Anyways, I've got to leave things here, guys. Another very long episode for you this week. Thank you for sticking with me, and I love you for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at allabootcandles and email those burning questions to allabootcandles@gmail.com. If you could hit me up with a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification button if you want to be notified the next time I do a live video. And until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye for now.